Human beings love a good story. We love neat explanations, poetic irony, memorable heroes, clear villains, and dramatic symbols. The problem is that history rarely works that way. The real past is complicated, blurry, often mundane, but the stories we pass down are clean, vivid, and satisfying. Over time, those stories become facts, taught in classrooms, repeated in museums, and absorbed into culture. But a great many of these facts were never true at all. Below are 23 of the most persistent historical myths, counted down in reverse order, meaning we're building up to the biggest and most surprising corrections of all. Number 23. Cleopatra was a seductive Egyptian beauty. Cleopatra's cultural legacy is largely shaped by art, theater, and Hollywood, especially films that cast her as a breathtaking femme fatale who toppled empires with her beauty. But historically, Cleopatra wasn't Egyptian. She was Macedonian Greek, descended from Ptolemy, a general under Alexander the Great. Surviving coins from her era show she didn't fit modern beauty standards. She is depicted with sharp features, a long nose, and a prominent chin. What made Cleopatra remarkable wasn't her appearance. It was her intellect and statecraft. She spoke at least 9 languages, was educated in philosophy and mathematics, and ruled one of the world's most important kingdoms through diplomacy and strategic alliances. Her legend became about beauty because beauty is easier to mythologize than strategic genius. Number 22. Nero played the fiddle while Rome burned. According to the popular story, Emperor Nero watched Rome burn while casually playing a violin, an image of narcissistic evil so striking that it became cultural shorthand for neglect. However, the violin did not exist in Nero's lifetime. String instruments of the time were lyres. Most ancient sources indicate Nero wasn't even in Rome when the fire began. He was likely 35 miles away in Antium. When he returned, he coordinated relief efforts and opened public buildings as shelters. The fiddle story was invented later by political rivals who wanted to paint Nero as a monster. Propaganda is a powerful tool. Once you call a leader the villain, the world tends to agree. Number 21. Cowboys were mostly white. The Hollywood cowboy, stoic, white, and rugged, is more cultural branding than history. During the 19th century cattle driving era, 1 in 4 cowboys was African American, many formerly enslaved men who found greater social freedom in frontier work. Many more were Mexican vaqueros, whose riding style, equipment, and terminology, lasso, rodeo, stampede, became the basis of the cowboy tradition. The West was racially diverse. Hollywood just decided not to show it. Number 20. The Wild West was full of constant shootouts. The high noon duel, 2 gunmen facing off dramatically in a dusty street, is almost entirely fiction. Most Western towns had strict firearm laws, often requiring visitors to check their guns with the sheriff. Considered disorderly gun use a jailable offense. Violence did occur, of course, but it was typically messy, unplanned, and fueled by alcohol. The organized duel survives because it's cinematic. Real violence is rarely dramatic enough for a movie scene. Number 19. People in the Middle Ages never bathed. The stereotype of medieval Europeans as filthy, unwashed people comes from later centuries, when plague outbreaks caused communal bathing to decline. But for most of the Middle Ages, public bathhouses were common gathering places. Soap existed, made from animal fat and ash. Personal hygiene was understood to be important for health and social respectability. Medieval people weren't showering daily, but neither were they coated in years of grime. They were not pristine, but they weren't sewage creatures either. Number 18. The average lifespan in the Middle Ages was only 30. The shocking statistic of a 30-year lifespan gets repeated constantly, but it is deeply misleading. That number is dragged down by high infant mortality. Once a person reached adulthood, it was entirely common to live into the 60s or 70s. Many elderly monks and scholars documented old age health problems, proving long life was attainable. Life was dangerous, but not unnaturally short for those who survived early childhood. Number 17. The Spanish Inquisition was the peak of historical torture. The Inquisition was undeniably oppressive, but compared to European secular courts of the same period, It used torture less frequently. It required medical supervision. Torture had rules and time limits, unlike many civil legal systems. Its reputation as history's worst torture machine came from Protestant propaganda in later centuries. It was wrong and harmful, but it was not uniquely monstrous. Number 16. The Curse of King Tut. When Tutankhamun's tomb was opened in 1922, a wave of media stories claimed those involved were dying mysteriously, proof of a mummy's curse. But the supposed victims died at normal ages of normal causes. Howard Carter, the archaeologist who opened the tomb, lived another 17 years. The curse was invented by newspapers hungry for sensational headlines. It worked. The myth outlived reality. Number 15. The Trojan horse was a literal giant wooden horse. In Homer's Iliad, the Greeks built a huge hollow horse to infiltrate Troy. But historians now believe the horse likely symbolized a siege tower or battering ram. It may also have been a poetic metaphor connected to the god Poseidon, who was associated with horses and earthquakes. The giant horse is great mythology, just not great archaeology. Number 14. Only 300 Spartans held the pass at Thermopylae. The 300 Spartan warriors were indeed elite, disciplined, and courageous. But they were not alone. They fought alongside around 7,000 soldiers from other Greek city-states. The focus narrowed to Spartans only because their culture celebrated heroic death. It makes a tighter legend. Number 13. William Tell was a real historical archer. The story of a man forced to shoot an apple off his son's head appears in folklore across Europe long before Switzerland adopted the tale. There's no evidence William Tell existed. The story survives because nations need heroic founding myths. Number 12. General Tso's chicken is authentic Chinese food. Created in the 1970s in New York to suit American tastes, General Tso's chicken is deep-fried, sweet and sticky, almost unknown in China. The real General Tso had nothing to do with the dish. His legacy was retrofitted into a menu item. Number 11. The Titanic was advertised as unsinkable. White Star Line advertising actually said practically unsinkable, a cautious phrasing. After the disaster, newspapers removed the word practically because unsinkable ship sinks sells infinitely better. A tragedy became a morality play. Number 10. Newton discovered gravity when an apple hit his head. Newton recalled watching an apple fall and asking why it fell straight downward. There was no slapstick head injury, but a scientist quietly thinking isn't a very exciting story. So storytellers added the bunk. Number 9. Medieval people believed the earth was flat. Educated Europeans knew the earth was round since Aristotle. Columbus's contemporaries criticized his voyage not because they feared he'd fall off the edge, but because they thought his math was wrong. He actually underestimated the size of Earth. Number 8. The Iron Maiden was a medieval torture device. The Iron Maiden, the spiked sarcophagus, never existed in the Middle Ages. It was invented in the 18th century, displayed in museums to shock visitors. It is history's most metal prop, not a real tool. Number 7. Lemmings commit mass suicide. The famous footage of lemmings throwing themselves off cliffs was staged by Disney filmmakers in 1958. They physically pushed the animals to create drama. Nature didn't supply the tragedy. Hollywood did. Number 6. Absinthe causes hallucinations. Absinthe's psychedelic reputation was engineered by the French wine lobby, which feared competition. You'd pass out from alcohol long before thujone affected your brain. The poets weren't inspired by visions. They were simply very drunk. Number 5. Abner Doubleday invented baseball. A committee searching for a purely American inventor of baseball simply chose Abner Doubleday, a Civil War general who never claimed involvement. The game evolved from British rounders. Patriotic pride rewrote the past. Number 4. The Illuminati controls the world. The historical Illuminati existed only from 1776 to 1785. They were Enlightenment intellectuals interested in rationalism. They didn't control governments. They barely survived a decade. The modern Shadow Cabal is a 20th century conspiracy fantasy layered onto a minor footnote. Number 3. Diamonds are rare and naturally valuable. Diamonds are not rare. Their value was engineered through a global supply monopoly by De Beers, a wildly successful advertising campaign, the manufactured tradition of the diamond engagement ring. A diamond is forever wasn't just a slogan, it rewired cultural expectations. Number 2, New York sewers are filled with albino alligators. No evidence has ever been found of a sewer alligator colony. The water's too cold, too toxic, and too food-poor to support large reptiles. Still, the story persists because it's the perfect urban myth, part horror, part comedy. Number 1, the Great Wall of China can be seen from the moon. The most widespread historical myth of all, and completely false. The Great Wall is long, but extremely narrow relative to Earth's scale. Even astronauts in low Earth orbit can only see it with difficulty. The claim predates space travel and stuck simply because it sounded majestic. If you'd like to keep digging, uncovering, questioning, and reshaping your understanding of the world, then subscribe and join us. Like this video, share it with someone who loves a good story, and let's keep rewriting what we thought we knew.